news for you. James, bring us up to date.
Yeah, Arsenal forward Ethan Nwaneri is in France. He's about to have a medical with Marseille. Arsenal have agreed a loan deal with him until the end of the season. We expect this move to be confirmed in the next 24 hours. Now, this is a straight loan move here. He's seen as a key part of Arsenal's future plans, but this is an opportunity for him to get more game time. He's got a contract at Arsenal up until 2030, so important to note it's a straight loan. He will return to Arsenal in the summer, where surely next season he'll hope to get even more opportunities, but it seems a really good opportunity for him to play for a Champions League club, a club that are flying right now under a world-class manager.
And the Roberto De Zerbi. Thank you very much, James. So let's get more on the move. European football expert Andy Brassell joins us. Andy, right on cue as well. Nwaneri, is he going to get plenty of game time at Marseille? How do you see the fit and where might he play? We've seen him be versatile at Arsenal.
Yeah, we have seen him be versatile at Arsenal, but clearly he's going to play in midfield if he's going to play for Marseille. That's where they're a little bit short at the moment. He's not playing on the right side of attack because you've already got someone cutting in on their left foot there, Mason Greenwood, who's having a fantastic season. His place is indisputable. But it's interesting. What De Zerbi has talked about throughout the season is what my team is really lacking is a number 10. So this is really interesting because I think we can look at the way that Marseille play and think, OK, we can see Nwaneri going into a sort of inside right position. I think it will be a little bit higher than that. And seeing as De Zerbi has talked about having this sort of mysterious number 10 that he's going to build his team around, I think that is probably the thing that's got Arteta to intervene and say, you know what, I can see him working with De Zerbi and this will really be to the advantage of Arsenal going forward into the second half of 2026.
Exciting to see how it develops even when he gets into the team. A word on De Zerbi. He didn't really comment yesterday when asked about reports linking him with Manchester United. How would you, as things stand, rate the job he's doing in Marseille?
You know what? Marseille is such a sort of hotbed of overreaction, really. It's such a passionately followed club that it's really hard to get a handle on it. I mean, from the outside, he's doing a pretty good job. He got them back into the Champions League last season. It's been a little bit more complicated this season, partly because of the rise of Lens, who are top of the table at the moment, which is a remarkable story because they've got a fraction of the budget. And secondly, because they're in the Champions League and they've got this massive pressure, knowing that PSG have had a ridiculous schedule, knowing that they're carrying a load of injuries. And there's a bit of a sense of, we have to go and win the league this season, which you should never be feeling in France if you're a team that's not PSG. So, look, I would say overall he's doing a pretty good job. But then again, you go back to them losing their last home game against Nantes, and he's being torn off by every ex-player on television, on French TV, saying, oh, Marseille have not improved under him, which is patently false. So, look, I think he's learnt to be, you know, we think of him as quite an explosive character. He's learnt to be a little bit calmer there because you need to be a little bit calmer to succeed in Marseille because it is always such high tension all of the time. But look, until he gets to that next level, until he wins trophies, do we know that he can take care of a top Premier League club? Although, obviously, Manchester United are trying to be a top Premier League team rather than actually being one at the moment, you could argue.
Do you think, Andy, therefore, you mentioned the fact that he's calmed down a little bit since being in Marseille, that he would be ready to step in at a club like Manchester United? We've seen the likes of Ruben Amorim and Enzo Maresca be quite vocal when it comes to their thoughts on some of the recruitment policies and some of the things that have been going on above them, upstairs. But do you think he'd be ready for that type of challenge? Of course, his focus is on the game this evening, but maybe looking into the summer.
Well, look, James, you know De Zerbi as well as me. He's never going to be the kind of guy who bites his tongue totally. You know, he just can't be that. He can't change what he is. But I think he may have learned to take a step back a little bit, certainly in public, which I think is very important. And if you look at how it unravelled for Ruben Amorim at Manchester United, a huge part of it was his inability to step back from what he really thought and saying that in public. And I feel like De Zerbi has got a little bit better about that. I think if you look at him even in the last 3 months, he's stopped having a dig at referees. He's taken a deep breath when a decision's gone against his team. And I think that sort of thing is really vital and shows the sort of personal growth that we don't always associate with coaches. You know, we expect top coaches to have such a big ego that they have their plan and they stick to it. And they think, this is what's worked for me and I'm never going to change. But I think De Zerbi has understood that if he's really going to reach that next level, he does have to modify his approach a little bit. And, you know, that would definitely be the way to go in at Manchester United, because what brought down Amorim is his inability or unwillingness to change from what he always did.
Fascinating to hear that. Now, our top story, Andy, is that Jean-Philippe Mateta has asked to leave Crystal Palace. What we were wondering here is, with Juventus being one of the clubs interested in signing him, but not seemingly prepared to pay what Palace want for him, why aren't they stumping up the money? Is it tactics or is it just finances?
Well, they spent a lot in the summer, Teddy. You know, they brought in a load of forward players. And that to me is why, to an extent, it's slightly surprising that Juventus are going for Jean-Philippe Mateta. But they know, of course, that they're going to be off the hook for Dusan Vlahovic's wages. He's injured at the moment, but he's leaving in the summer. He's out of contract. And unless he takes a massive pay cut, he won't be coming back.